1F, the state chairman, it can't, any of y'all can do the same thing. If there was, in fact, one of the members here on call out had an issue about several months ago. The question was about notification with respect to the organizational meeting of executive committees, I believe, and sent me a question and said, would you please clarify? And then I issued a ruling. I'll just tell you as an aside, I don't issue rulings when it comes to the rules without working very closely with the parliamentarian. I've done parliamentary procedure for a long time, but I'm certainly not the expert that they are. And so I always count with general counsel and his assistants and the parliamentarian. I work very closely with them. So I sought their assistance with respect to this and have issued a clarification. The clarification essentially said because of the confusion and the way the vote was presented at the convention, we're going to play that video here in just a second. Because of the way it was articulated, that the delegates were voting on that issue that way only applies to the organizational committee meeting, not all the bylaws, just that meeting. Then my ruling is that it was restricted just to that meeting. It was not a overlying demand or requirement on all the bylaws. So I'll play the video. We'll have Mike play the video, and then we'll take questions. But the motion on the floor, essentially, as you're thinking about what you hear, is my ruling is that what happened at the convention, when it was voted on by the delegates, tells us that it was only the organizational meeting, and therefore the motion on the floor is to affirm what my ruling was. That's the motion on the floor. If you affirm, yes, that's exactly what it was. Yeah, I'm sorry. In your packets, there's. Why don't you say that?
His reasoning for his decision, I just wanted to make it very clear, it's not an arbitrary decision. His reasoning is very clearly laid out, as is my reasoning for my question. But in conjunction with both parliamentarians, the outgoing and incoming, he gave his reply. So if you're like me, sometimes you ignore a lot of papers or you shuffle papers around and you don't read them. These are to be read.
Yeah, at least her email to me and my response are in your packet, so hopefully you found it. All right, Mike, would you go ahead and play? This, we record, obviously, we record the state conventions during the session, and this is a snippet of the overall, obviously, 1 year, 8 hours, or 10 hours, 12 hours. So this is a snippet of that particular situation. Go ahead, Mike, please.
The adoption of amendment to Rule 8C, found on page 4 of the committee report. The amendment to Rule 8C deals with the agenda at the SREC organizational meeting.
Question of the floor is on the adoption of the amendment to Rule 8C. Are you ready for the question? All in favor say aye. All opposed say nay. Carries. So that's, does anyone have, you want us to play it again? Play one.
By direction of
Yeah, play it one more time, just for people.
By direction of the committee, I move the adoption of amendment to Rule 8C, found on page 4 of the committee report. The amendment to Rule 8C deals with the agenda at the SREC organizational meeting.
Question on the floor is on the adoption of the amendment to Rule 8C. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and open up for discussion. Anyone have any comments or questions about the video?
Yeah, I do.
Can you go to the microphone?
I have such a loud voice.
I have a question about the video.
Do you have one like the video?
I'd ask a question about the video, yes.
Oh, okay. Let's get Jeremy first. Then he's been at the microphone, and we can ask Jake. Go ahead. Name yourself.
Jeremy Blosser, ST Turn, and I want to make sure I heard the words correctly. The chairman of the Rules Committee said he is moving adoption of the amendment printed on page 4 of the report. I heard that correctly, guys. And then he stated that that amendment deals with the agenda of the organizational meeting, correct? His words. No, he did not. Please play it again. Please play it again. I said it. Please play it again.
By direction of the committee, I move the adoption of amendment to Rule 8C, found on page 4 of the committee report. The amendment to Rule 8C deals with the agenda at the SREC organizational meeting.
So the totality of his remark, just to be, I'm sure I'm hearing correctly, is that it dealt with the agenda. The amendment to Rule 4C, or 8C, printed on page 4, said that the additional language that we were adding was that the SREC at their organizational meeting would include in their agenda adoption of bylaws, correct?
Oh, no, I'm gonna let you finish, because I took that to mean something different, but you go ahead. Which is why I issued
I'm
the
asking
rule.
questions.
Yeah, what I took from what he said deals with the approval, the part of the agenda that he was speaking of was the approval of the bylaws. That was what it was containing. I understand what you're saying, and your interpretation is different than mine. The way what I heard him say was, and that's why I issued the ruling I did, is the approval of not the agenda per se, but deals with the agenda that includes the approval of the officials committee, the bylaws. And so that is the approval, the only thing it applies to are the approval of the bylaws of the organizational meeting.
My question
That's
is,
how it's
I don't understand how your ruling is addressing, when he's not wrong. There's this proposal that what he said was incorrect, or wasn't incorrect, that does the amendment portion go to the organizational meeting or not. There were two parts of the amendment that were printed. One was that we now include something in our agenda explicitly in the rules, the adoption of bylaws, which is what he referred to, and then it goes on to say what those bylaws can include. So I'm not sure where the ambiguity is in his remark, and I can save the rest of this so we're making a debate, but I'm asking that question because I want to make sure I heard the words right. Because I heard agenda, I didn't hear him say one word about amendment. I heard him refer to what was in the written report and then say it deals with the agenda of the organizational meeting, which it does, but it deals with more than that. So let me ask the question this way. Is your ruling that if a committee chair at the state convention says, I'm moving adoption of this language printed in the book, and it deals with A, and that amendment also deals with B and C, but he doesn't mention it, you're suggesting that a delegate has to raise a point of order, or B and C will fall out of what's adopted by the convention?
Not saying that at all, Jeremy.
Please clarify.
Okay? Based on and we had testimony yesterday, or they had y'all testimony, we're going to have to break for lunch. So I'll respond to that, and then we'll take a recess for lunch, and then we'll have Jeremy come back and continue, and then he can kind of overlap, go back to what he said earlier. But based on what that was, my ruling is based on the interpretation of what was presented to the delegates of the state convention, which is the ultimate authority in our party, and what they interpreted that they were voting on, which that the change in this was only relevant to the organizational meeting, which is on the agenda of the organizational meeting is to approve the bylaws, not to include everything else. So why don't we take a break for, we're going to have the blessing. Y'all, this is going to go on probably for a while, I would suspect. So, and that's fine. But why don't we not get any further into the weeds, and we'll get Jeremy to come back to the microphone. The parliamentarian asked a question about whether it was properly cooked with the body. The chair of the Rules Committee said, by the direction of the committee, I think she said reaffirm or confirm the chairman's ruling. Is that right? So it is properly in front of the body. So, okay, so this time if you stand. Pastor is not able to, he had another commitment, so he had to run over to that. And it's been with us at the governor's mansion, so we asked if I would do the bless. So if you please bow with me. Dear Lord, we just